Up+Adam.
Tractor systems are offline.
We are Beyond FM.
Beyond FM.
The future of broadcasting is here.
Up+Adam with Adam Montiel. It's community content from Concentrate. It's Up+Adam with Adam Montiel.
Some say life is where it begins. Straight to the stars is where it ends. Yes, some say life is just where it begins. Straight to the stars is where it ends. Only to start again.
Wednesday, yes, day number 1 of the California Mid-State Fair. So it's very appropriate. We are talking to the man behind one of the most iconic guitar solos in rock and roll history. Hotel California, give it to me. Oh yeah. Well, that's just the beginning of a 5-decade journey that includes stages with Petty, Slash, Streisand, a Grammy-winning chapter with the Eagles, and a brand new album that proves he ain't slowing down anytime soon. Coming up, we're going to talk to the legendary Don Felder of the Eagles. Yes, that Don Felder. About the night he first wrote that unforgettable progression, why old demos still have magic to them, what it's like to play for 110,000 people at Wembley, and why he doesn't chase sound, he chases feeling. Plus the story behind his new record called The Vault, the insane moment on a treadmill that turned into a love song, and whether he still gets chills playing that very solo. He's coming to the California Mid-State Fair July 25th. That's next Friday, not this Friday. We will talk to Don Felder today on Up+Adam. Can't wait. I want to get right into the show, but a couple little nuggets I passed up today reading. Everyone can agree that one of the best parts about the new Superman movie is Crypto, Superman's foster dog. And it's probably no coincidence that since the movie came out, there has been an increase in Google searches about pet adoption. The phrase "adopt a dog near me" has increased by 513%. Isn't that cool? There was also a 163% increase in, quote, rescue dog adoptions near me, and a 300% increase in adopt a schnauzer. Crypto is a mutt, but he shares some resemblance to a schnauzer. He was created by CGI, but was modeled after director James Gunn, his own dog, named Ozu. Gunn heard about the surge in dog adoption interest and said, quote, "The film has been a barrage of blessings for me. This one might be the greatest." Ozu has no idea any of this is happening, but if he did, he'd be proud. That's a sweet story. That'll be fun to bring up when we talk to Woods on Friday for sure. And finally, this quick hit, we always hear about the harder parts of what our body goes through as we get older, and your body might be wasting away, but getting older isn't all bad. National Geographic posted a list of some ways your health actually improves as you age. Spoiler alert, all the improvements are to your mental health. One, you get better at handling stress. A study in 2023 found seniors produce less cortisol, and you also just get used to stress. Older people have a lot more ability to understand stressful or difficult circumstances. Number 2, you become more emotionally resilient. When stressful stuff does happen, you become better equipped to bounce back from it. Number 3, you stop caring about what other people think. This is great. As we age, we tend to stop comparing ourselves to others so much. It lets you focus on the things that actually make you happy and, more importantly, the things that actually matter. Your sex life might improve. People in relationships often report their sex life gets better in their 50s, especially women. And finally, number 5, happiness peaks again. How happy we are tends to follow a U-shaped curve. We're happy in our early 20s, a little less happy in our 30s and 40s, and then it rebounds big time. Studies show you might not hit your peak happiness until your 60s, even your 70s. So lots of things to look forward to as you get older, especially in the realm of mental health. Thought it was a good article in National Geographic, so boom, there you go. Well, I'm very excited to talk to Don Felder. Before that, I want to get to my friends, show some love to Life Elements. Here is why I believe in Life Elements. I've seen what they do. I've walked in, and without hesitation, Martha's handing me some sample, rubbing something on my knee, asking how I'm doing. You feel it. The care, the creativity, really the magic, and every product backs it up. Their bug spray is made with a essential oils like cedarwood, lemongrass, and citronella. Totally safe for your skin, pets, and the planet. Their relief stick uses CBD, arnica, and calendula, and eases aches fast, but just efficiently. It's amazing. In addition to their spot in Atascadero, you could shop their products at the Hive in Arroyo Grande, also the General Store in Paso, and of course, lifeelements.com. Get over there. 7425 El Camino Real. Use the promo code ADAM when you're online, ADAM. You'll save 15% off, or let them know about, say Adam when you're in the store. I'm sure that'll give you a little bit of love too. It's the back corner of the plaza at 7425 El Camino Real. Of course, you can go online or go to those other locations that I told you about in AG and Paso, but I want you to meet Martha and Kurt. They are fantastic, great souls of humanity. I love them both. Lifeelements.com.
It's Up and Adam with Adam Montiel.
All right, well, this is a treat. My guest today, Rock and Roll Hall of Famer, a songwriter, guitarist, and storyteller whose work helped shape the sound of a generation. You know him from the Eagles. He co-wrote and performed that iconic solo on Hotel California. Oh, yeah. But his career goes far beyond the band. He's played with legends, written for icons, and just released The Vault, a brand new collection spanning 50 years, unreleased tracks, collabs, stories you've never heard until now. He's hitting the stage of the California Mid-State Fair on July 25th, and he's with us today to talk music, legacy, and a life well played. Please welcome the one and only Don Felder. Thank you for being Up and Adam.
I'm glad to do it. It's going to be so much fun coming up and playing for you guys. You have to come out to the show, and I'll give you some backstage passes so you can come backstage. I can shake your hand for taking the time to do this for me.
Oh, that really means a lot, Dan. I tell you, because this is one of the most fun nights of the California Mid-State Fair, where you have the tables out. People are decking out the tables. They're ready to dance. They're drinking wine, all kinds of wine. It's really a fun and spirited evening at the fair. And I don't know if you've ever been a part of this specific night of the fair, but if you haven't, you're in for a treat.
I'm really looking forward to it. I've heard a lot about it from a lot of people that have been there and have really enjoyed the night, and they're excited about me being there playing. So we're going to have a great time. It's going to be a lot of fun.
There's just so many questions. I'm so excited to have you on here. You really helped shape one of the biggest sounds in rock history, but legacy's a weird thing, right? How do you kind of carry all that without it carrying you when you look back at 50 years of music?
Well, here's the deal. When I first started playing music, I was 10 years old. There was no Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. There was no Grammy Awards. There was nothing. It was just, I think Elvis Presley was the biggest thing on the planet at the time. But there was no magnitudes like there was in the 70s and even today. The size of like Beyonce's tour is just enormous. It did not exist. So I grew up playing and just being happy playing music, whether I was playing at a fraternity party or at a bar or in a recording studio. That's just been the joy of my life, is being able to play music, write songs, make records, play it live for people, and everybody get up and dance and rock and have a great time. So I don't worry about that weight of all that legacy that you're talking about, because I'm just having a great time.
And look, I get it. Bands are families. Families have complications, and you're not the first artist I've, talked to who came out of something iconic with scars, pride, and everything in between. But I guess what I've always wondered is, what's it really like having been a part of something so globally epic, something most people will never even touch, but knowing the time was so intense, the bonds are so tangled and significant, and that it leaves this mix of awe and ache and legacy that you still navigate. Like, what does that feel like from the inside?
Well, I just feel really fortunate that whatever had led me from that little dirt road down to Gainesville, Florida, living right next door to destitute poverty, to tell you the truth, that led me from there to New York City, where I made my first album, left there and went up to Boston and worked in a recording studio for 5 days a week and got paid $50 a week to work there. And I was doing engineering, playing guitar, writing arrangement, producing, everything. But I learned how in those 2 years, I learned how to make records, which was invaluable going forward in my career. So when I showed up out in California, I was doing sessions. I was playing on people's records. I was friends with the Eagles because my high school bandmate, Bernie Ledden, and I had a band in Gainesville before either one of us left and went to California. But it never really was anything other than just loving to play music, no matter what it is. That's wherever you are. It doesn't matter if you're playing a fraternity or you're playing a stadium for 80,000 people. The joy of playing music is what it's all about. It's what's driven me from the age of 10 to today. I'm sitting backstage at an arena that we're going to do a show here tonight, and there are probably going to be 30,000 people here. And it's wonderful. It just has a great feel to it. I'm very happy, and I feel very fortunate and very lucky that my path in life has led me through all of those adventures, led me through the years with the Eagles. The records and recordings we made together and songs we wrote together are fantastic. I mean, we spent a year making an album, where today people don't spend that kind of time. They just go in and correct stuff with auto-tune and time correction and all this stuff, and they're done. But we made certain every note on every record, whether it was vocal or guitar or a bass part or a drum hit, was absolutely perfect. And that when you listen to those records, they hold a great deal of magic because, you know what there was before there was Pro Tools.
Yeah,
there were pros that could play and sing and write.
That's great. That pause was so effective. I was like, "What's he going to say? Yeah, no, you're totally right, though. You're totally right. I mean, I love that you talked about albums because I mean, who even really makes those anymore? I mean, album arrangement used to be so specific, and what's the key, what's the mood, what's the tempo to be able to get in the car, drive for a half hour, turn around, and be taken on this complete journey. I mean, some of these aspects of this business they're gone by way of the dinosaur a little bit.
Well, yes and no. I mean, this last album, The Vault, that I made, really went back. I stumbled into a cardboard box in one of my storage units where I'd stored my studio for over 20 years. I said, I gotta go into this unit. I don't even know what's in there. I haven't seen this stuff for years. So I went in there, and I think it was about 2022, in the middle of COVID, and I found this large cardboard box, and it probably had 50 cassettes in it. And there were CDs in it and ADATs. And over the years, every time I would write a track, I would make a mix of it. And they were all these mixes of all these song ideas in that cardboard box. I said, well, I've got to take this back to my new Pro Tools studio, my digital studio, and start transferring these things, because what happens with cassettes and audio tape is the older they get and the more dried out they get, they just fall apart. They literally, the oxide just falls off of the plastic. So we set up a really nice cassette deck and transferred to 96K digital performer, high resolution audio. And in the process, I'm just walking around in my house. My engineer's in the studio doing this stuff. And I keep hearing things that I had done in 74, like the very first demo I made for the Eagles was done in 74. And it's number one on the CD. It's called Move On.
Move On, right. I was going to ask you about that, yeah.
Yeah, it's a slide song. That the reason I was brought into the band was because I played rock guitar and primarily called in to play slide on the border on a song called Good Day in Hell. So I thought, well, I'm going to write a slide song that they can write lyrics to, right? So I make this basic track, and we had just finished up On the Border. We just didn't have time to record anything else before we had to leave and go on the road. But in this box of cassettes, there's just a gold mine of ideas that I wrote in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s and 2000. I wound up finding 6 tracks that I thought were just fantastic. Had no lyrics, no vocals, nothing like that. It was just music beds. And so I would take little snippets from one of those ideas, like Move On, and I'd rebuild the whole track. New bass, new drums, new rhythm. The whole production was a brand new today 2025 production of an idea that I had come up with in 74. There's a song on here called Hollywood Victim. And everybody that hears it says, that sounds like an Eagles record. I said, well, it was meant to be. It was written for that. It had no lyrics and no vocals at the time, but the whole idea and pocket for it, I wrote for the Eagles. Writing for a band is kind of like you have to write like you would cast characters in a sitcom. You know how the characters are. You have to write specific dialogue for each character, right? Yeah. So I know how everybody plays. I know the register they sang in the Eagles. I knew I couldn't write a drum part that was too complicated. So Don Hiddley wouldn't be able to play it and sing at the same time. I had to play stuff that was so I wrote specifically for that band a lot of song ideas that never got recorded. I think for Hotel California, I did 16 or 17 songs on a cassette, and 2 of them wound up on the record. One became Hotel California, and the other one was Victim of Love. And so for every album, I would just turn in song ideas. And, it was fun to just be so prolific. And as a matter of fact, I still am. I write every day. As a matter of fact, there's a song on this new album of mine called The Vault. It's called I Like the Things You Do. And I was on a treadmill in a gym with my girlfriend running right beside me on a treadmill. And I was running at a pretty fast tempo. And I kept hearing this lyric. I'd look over at her, and she's a beautiful, beautiful woman. I went, I really like the things you do. I really like the things you do. And I'm running in the tempo to that. So finally, if I don't record a little bit of that, it's gone. An hour or 2 or a day later, I go, what was that idea? I don't remember. So I pick up my phone on the treadmill and I start singing to the tempo that I'm running into this phone. Really like the things you do. I look over at the guy next to me and he's looking at me going, what the heck are you doing singing in your phone? Come on, really?
I love these stories. Great.
I just caught that little idea for the song, and then when I got home, I built a whole track and turned it into what's on the record today. So they all come from little kernels of ideas,
What a little life, Dan. You're just on the treadmill, your hot girlfriend's next to you, you're singing, scatting songs into your phone that are going to be on the album. So what a cool scene. I think of, and I love the fact that you brought up sound, and most specifically studio sound. I want to talk about live sound for a second. Just interviewed a dude who wrote this book about the wall of sound, Grateful Dead, and the way that they would put band money back into the sound of live production was really wild. What were the thoughts in your head as far as like technically sound, traveling, my speakers, live music? What were the Eagles? Were you guys into that then, or was it not as big as maybe to some other bands like, say, the Dead?
I would say they were not so much into being technically superior. We had great PA systems, but back in those days, everybody used wedges, for monitors instead of in-ears. I don't think we started using in-ears until probably Hell Freezes Over. That's when we shifted from the loud wedges on stage, because it used to be a fight between the wedges, which would be monitoring everything, your vocal, the drums, the bass. It was like a mix in your wedge, and the amps behind you, the guitar amps. So the louder the amps got, the louder the wedges got, the louder the wedges got, the louder the amps had to get. So it was this fight that always went on between trying to be balanced. Now with in-ears, that doesn't happen. You have your own mix going on, and I really enjoy the new advantages of modern live sound, to tell you the truth. It's fantastic. Matter of fact, when we do a sound check, everybody in my band has an iPhone. They log into the monitor console to their particular mix, and if you want to adjust a little more vocal, a little more guitar, the snare drum's too loud, you can actually adjust your own mix at sound check to where you want to be. You couldn't do that 10 years ago. I mean, it's just gotten to the point where it's just phenomenal. I think technology has really helped live music immensely.
You've played with some of the biggest names, but as far as I'm just thinking guitar, right? You played with Petty. You learned slide, I think, from Allman. You co-wrote Hotel California, for crying out loud. But I'm so curious, when you pick up the guitar today, what kind of sound are you still chasing? What ignites you?
I don't chase sound. As a matter of fact, it doesn't really matter what guitar I play or what amp I'm running through or what pedals or effect. I still sound like me. And a perfect example is this. Walsh had come into the studio one day, and he had just bought this great, beautiful old Stratocaster, a 55, 56 Stratocaster. And I said, oh, man, that's beautiful. And he picks it up and plugs it in, and he starts playing, and it sounds really great. So I said, let me try that thing. And I pick it up and play it, and it just sounds like me. You know, it's not the arrow, it's the Indian. It's the hands that the instrument is in, whether it's piano or drums or whatever. So I don't try to chase sounds. I try to vary my sonic approach to sounds. In other words, I don't play the same guitar on every record. I would never do that because it just sounds too similar. If you listen to the beginning of Free at Last, which is on the vault, there's slide effects in there. As a matter of fact, one lady heard it and she wrote online, how did you go record those seagulls? And I went, what are you talking about? So I go back and listen to the beginning, and I had played these emulations of seagulls that went boo, 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 boo. It was the echo on a slide. And at the same time, I went, I never thought they sounded like seagulls. It was just an effect. So I try a lot of unique things. Like when Joe Walsh joined the band, I wrote the song Those Shoes because, first of all, there's never been a double talkbox song that I know of recorded on any record. Joe was a great talkbox player. I wanted to be able to write something that we could play talkbox together on. So it was like a unique thing to try to do, and it worked out great. When we did, I think it was the Long Run Sad Cafe, I played a 4-harmony acoustic guitar solo. Instead of just one acoustic guitar playing a line, I put 3 other harmonies on it. So if you listen to it, it's like an acoustic quartet that's playing that solo together in harmony. Just different, right? So I chase new ideas, different techniques, panning of different stuff that moves, and just unique sounds. I still sound like me. When you drop that needle, you'll go, yep, that sounds like Don.
That's Don. So I'm so curious because when we talk solos or we talk big songs, everyone knows the lyrics, right? But there's only a few solos in rock and roll history where people get out their hands and they know the solo and act it out. I mean, Hotel California, just epic. I'm so curious how these things come to you. Are you bouncing back and forth with Joe? Or are you just going, hey, here's my idea? And then when something gets so nailed down and so, just like gospel, that thing is, you recite it, and guitar players recite, you go onto YouTube and hit Hotel California, your solo comes up and different people playing it. Then do you feel the ability to mess with it when you're live, or like, no, everybody wants to hear it the way of the album? Talk about how the solo came to you and how it evolved with you.
Well, what happened was I was sitting on a couch in a rented house in Malibu, and I was just sitting there playing acoustic guitar, and I had 2 young babies. One was about a year, and one was almost 3. They were playing in the sand with a nanny out in front of me. And so I'm just sitting there playing along, and that chord progression, which is officially a descending chromatic chord progression. Every chord goes down, down, down in a chromatic structure. It just came through me. For some reason, I have no idea where it came from or why. I said, I have to record a little bit of this like I did at the gym, or I'll forget it. So I get up and run back into my 1-year-old daughter's bedroom. And when she was awake, I had a 4-track reel-to-reel tape recorder. I set up a mic. I recorded myself playing 3 or 4 times through that progression, and then just turned it off and went out and played with my kids in the beach. But like a couple of weeks later, we started writing for what was going to be the Hotel California album. So I went in and started listening to all these little snippets of what I had captured those little ideas. And when I heard that, I went, okay, I'm going to finish this. So I got a little drum machine. I played the 12-string part that you hear on the record. Picked up and played the bass, wrote the bass part that's on the record. I wrote the reggae part that's played, the descending harmony lines in the verses. And when I got to the end, Joe had just joined the band, and Joe and I had been playing together outside of the Eagles before he joined the band. We had done some things called Joe Walsh and Friends. We did a late-night television show where I sat in with them and just blew at each other, just, played against each other, and it just worked really well. We also opened for Elton John at Dodger Stadium and just, played some big shows with Joe. And so when he joined the band, just like that, writing that Talk Box song, I said, I need to write something that Joe and I can work on together. So I made this demo. At the very end, I picked up a guitar and said, well, I'd play something kind of like this. And then I had another guitar, and I said, well, Joe would play something kind of like this. And I kind of simulated what was meant to happen at the end of the record. We got into the studio after we had cut the basic track down in Criteria in Miami. And Joe and I were just going to set up in the control room with our amps out in the studio mic, roll the tape, put it in record, and the two of us just improvised what we were going to do. So we're doing that, and Henley walks in and says, what are you guys doing? Well, we're working on the guitar parts for the end of this track. No. You got to do it just like the demo. I said, I don't know what that demo was. That was a year ago. I just made it up. I have no idea. He said, well, you got to get that so we can record like the demo. So I have to pick up a phone, call my housekeeper back in Malibu, have her go over to my studio, get this cassette that's got a red star on it, bring it over to the house, put it in a blaster, play it, put a phone in front of it. We record it in the studio in Miami, and then I have to sit down and learn what I just made up on the spot, right? And so that, I would say about 60% of that solo on the end was just done pretty much in that demo session. And then we get to the end, and Joe says, we need something that goes diddly, diddly, diddly. I said, what is diddly, diddly, diddly? So he picks up his guitar and goes, da 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 da. And I went, oh, okay. Well, when you have a descending progression like that, it changes the chord every bar. So we had to figure out what's the diddly, diddly, diddly on this bar, and then we have to go to the next diddly, diddly, diddly. And we had to literally bar by bar go through figuring out what that harmony diddly, diddly was going to be. And we had to record over and over until we got it just absolutely perfect. And then we get on the sound stage, and neither one of us had played that solo from the beginning to the end. And we were like, oh, we better go back in the dressing room and start practicing this before we get there. And I had to try to figure out, how do you play two guitars at the same time? Because on the record, I played a bunch of different guitar parts on the album of Hotel, right? So here we're on the sound stage. How do I go play all that 12-string stuff and the solo stuff and the harmonies? How do I do that and go back and forth? So I sent a guitar tech out to a music store to get a double neck guitar. He comes back and he opens up the case, and it's white. And I went, why did you get a white one? That's so girly. Why didn't you get a black one or a red one? Or, this is rock and roll. That's all they had was this white one. So I said, okay. So my dad had taught me how to solder back when I was probably about 14. I used to step on my guitar chords and break them. He said, if you got to keep breaking these chords, you got to learn how to fix them. So he taught me how to solder and fix my wiring. So I open up this double neck guitar and we rewire it so it has two outputs, one for the 12-string neck and one for the 6-string neck. So when you switch between the two necks on this selection switch, it goes out a different outputs, right, and the different stuff. So I'm literally playing two guitars at the same time, but changing between two guitars. So it's probably solely responsible for my back issues because I've been lugging that thing around for 50 years now.
I've seen some of, you guys, there's a fantastic guitarist here, Gary Wooten, who does this hybrid 6-string, it's an 8-string guitar, but he's playing bass and the guitar out of one thing, and it's going into two places. And it's like, yeah, you're playing two things at once. Unbelievable how you guys will modify and take this art even further, huh?
Yeah. Well, I learned the wiring thing from Chet Atkins. I saw him when I was 14 years old, and he came out and sat down in the middle of this little stage in Daytona Beach, and he had two amplifiers, one on the left and one on the right. And he says something like, the bloodiest war between Americans, where the most American lives were lost, was the Civil War between the North and the South, Americans killing Americans. And so he said, the theme song for the South was Yankee Doodle Dixie, or was Dixie. So he goes da 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 da, which is Yankee Doodle Dandy. He said that, and the South has Dixie da 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 da. He says, in an effort to reunite these souls, I'm going to play both songs at the same time. So he starts playing, and he's playing out of one amplifier, Yankee Doodle Dandy. And out of the other amplifier is coming Dixie. And I just lost my mind. I was 14 years old. So at the end of the night, my dad and I stood by the stairs where he would walk off stage. When he came down, I said, how did you do that? What did you do? He says, well, the bottom 3 strings on my guitar go out of one output and go to one amplifier. And the top 3 strings go out of another output and go to the other amplifier. So it's like literally playing 2 guitars at the same time. So had I not seen that before when I was young at 14, I would never know how to set up and convert a double neck to be able to do that.
Do you know then that a solo, or when do you know in the process that this is of a magnitude that is just really unparalleled? And then when you're doing Hell Freezes Over, I know as everybody was watching that and listening to it, they're waiting for the end of the song because they're like, this whole thing is acoustic. What are they going to do with that part? Because it was so epic. I waited that whole song. I was like, I like it. But I'm waiting in anticipation for that part.
Well, the thing that always got me was, when back in the 90s, everybody was doing this unplugged version of all their hits. So we're at rehearsal, and we're about 2 or 3 days away from that filming, and we'd worked up acoustic stuff for Tequila Sunrise and a bunch of other songs. But Henley says, we need an acoustic version of Hotel. And I went, well, we can't do it on steel string guitars. It'll sound like a couple of country pickers playing the steel string guitar. Now, I had spent about 2 years in the Holiday Inn playing nylon string in Boston, playing nylon string for people having their dinner, just whatever it was, The Shadow of Your Smile, a lot of classical songs to play for dinner food. So I had pretty good nylon string chops, so I work up an arrangement of it, and then we get on the sound stage, and after the rehearsal, we have a orchestra with us, and there's probably 15 or 20 video cameras, and there's 2 recording trucks. It's a big production to film that. So we do finish our rehearsal, and the last thing we do is we end with rehearsal. We end with Hotel. And Don Henley says, this song's going to need a special introduction. And I went, well, what are you going to say? He said, no, I'm not going to talk. Just make up something. So he knew that I could improvise on the spot from just making up guitar solos and playing jazz and making up. So I said, okay, you play this chord, blang, I'll diddle around. Then you play this chord, I'll diddle around. Then you play this chord, I'll diddle around, and when you hear me go ba-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da at the very end of that guitar intro, then we'll start the percussion, and then let that go about 8 bars, and we'll start the song.
Oh, so nobody feels that is so cool.
Yeah, and so I had no idea what I was going to play. Yet, roll tape, roll the cameras, here we go. We got 200 people sitting in the audience. I hope I'm funny. So when we do that, I have no idea what's going to come out. It's just that we recorded the show twice and emptied the audience and put another audience in. But we played the same show and everything, so we could edit between the two. So, but we went in the studio and we listened to the introduction that I'd made up for Hotel. one was obviously better than the other because you just sometimes the first thing out of the chute is your best bet, and it was.
What? So did you do "Slide on Level, Keep Us Alive" on the new song for that album?
I did, yeah.
Beautiful,
yeah.
Just beautiful.
Yeah.
What a cool song, and the harmony is over there. Wow, so incredible. What are people going to look forward to when you put on a show like what's happening in Paso in later this month, which I cannot wait for? What are you looking forward to audiences expecting, and then what do you kind of deliver for them?
Well, I think they expect to hear a lot of what I'm known for. There's a lot of the Eagles work, some of my solo stuff like heavy metal. I play that. I play a version of Pride and Joy. It gives me a chance to just step out of the note for note that it has to be identical to the record. I can just play the blues. It's a salute to Stevie Ray. I have a lot of video that plays in my show. We have a big screen on stage that's playing videos as I'm playing music. I think, like last night, we played this show, and I guess there was probably 25,000 people there, and it's an outdoor shed, and it had a slight uphill climb to it, you know? Yeah. And so when I pull out the guitar and start playing Hotel California, the first 10 rows stand up, they have their video cameras, and it's like a wave going up this hill of people standing up, because if people are standing up in front of you, you can't see, and they all have their cameras out videoing me playing the solo at the end of Hotel California.
Oh,
so it was it's a really fun evening.
Is it weird being a musician over the years, how things have evolved on, where you're like, well, back in the day, not everybody was sticking these like 4-inch devices up in front of their face. They were watching the show with their freaking eyeballs. Is it weird?
No, I think technology has so invaded our world, everybody's world. Even when you go through an airport now, you see wherever people are sitting and waiting for a plane, everybody that's waiting is staring at their phone. As a matter of fact, there's a song on my new album, The Vault, called Digital World. It's about being addicted to digital, whether it's a laptop or television or an iPhone, whatever. It's about that. There's a place for that, and I'm using it right now to talk to you. But I don't live day by day, breath by breath on digital. You know, now when COVID hit, a lot of that changed. The only way you could talk to people was, you know, over the phone or everybody was online. My son was taking his school classes online, remote from the house. And, you know, so I think COVID had a big impact on amplifying the digital world where everybody just jumped on board.
Well, I hope, you know, because the album, The Vault, you got things like Move On, opening the album, Hollywood Victim, which like we talked about earlier, I kind of listened to it. It almost kind of reads like a B-side of Hotel California. It's super fun. And if the Don Felder playing the first big stadium that you could see, if that guy could see the man now, same man, different season, what do you think he'd say to that guy?
Wow, I have no idea. I was in shock the first time with the Eagles. I think it was probably 75. We played Wembley Stadium, opening for Elton John, and there was 110,000 people there. And when we were playing these rock songs like Already Gone and stuff like that, you could see people jumping up and down, but it was a wave because the time delay is like a baseball. When you see somebody hit it, there's a time delay, and the further away you are, the greater the delay. So you'd see this wave of people running, rippling across this soccer field and up in the stand. It was a sight I never thought I'd ever dream of seeing. It was really wonderful.
Do you like wine?
Do I like wine?
Yeah.
I did. I just drank enough in the 70s to last me a lifetime. Come 1980, I stopped everything. Yeah. I don't drink alcohol at all. I loved it. I used to take a lot of time with wine and using a lot of, interest in it. And I just think I consumed my fair share in the 10 years I was on the road.
I got it. I totally get it. Well, I definitely want to take you up on, the offer to come and just maybe have an iced tea with you, just chill with you, say hi, thank you, and a handshake to thank you for this time. It was really a pleasure to look back and to look forward with you. It's just really special to have you on, Don. You don't know how much.
Thank you so very much. I appreciate you taking the time to do this. Please come to the show, like I said.
For sure. Thanks a lot. And thanks for giving me this time. Have a great show. I'd wish you luck tonight, but that's not fair to people who need it. So go kill them.
All right. Thanks, Adam.
Some say life's where it begins. Straight to the stars is where it ends. Only to start again.
Wow, was that special? Huge thank you to the legendary Don Felder for joining us today, for sharing not just the stories behind the songs, but the soul behind them strings. You can catch Don live Friday, July 25th, 7:30 at the California Mid-State Fair, a music of wine and music. His new album, The Vault, 50 Years of Music, out now, packed with unreleased tracks, legacy cuts, all kinds of brand new material. To learn more, donfelder.com, and we'll drop all that in the show notes, including ticket info and more. Thank you, Don, for the time, the stories, the music. Oh, that was cool. All right, what a show today. Thanks again, Don Felder. To you for rating, reviewing, subscribing to what we do here, sharing it with a friend, letting others discover the community. That means a lot. Moonshiner Collective, want to thank them for original music on the show called Start Again. Learn more about them, moonshinercollective.com. To our friends at Tamber Winery, Timbre, Tamber Winery and the Lobro Studios at Tamber. Taste their wines in the village of AG. And learn more, tamberwinery.com. All right, I can't believe how fast this week is moving. Tomorrow's Thursday. The weekend is in sight. A cool start to the California Mid-State Fair for getting up there for day number 1. Till tomorrow, I'm Adam Montiel. Thank you so much for connecting and for being Up and Adam.
Some say life's where it begins. Straight to the stars is where it ends. Only to start again. Let's start again.